So, we have sent Moses up the mountain. We've got him back down again. We had the golden calf, and we had the golden calf get ground up and put in water, and the Israelites had to drink it, so they're in big trouble. But now Moses is down again. They have the 10 Commandments, and they're starting to hear all of the law and learn what they're supposed to do. There are a lot of laws. There are 5 books that are filled with the laws that the children of Israel were supposed to obey. We're not going to go through all of them. I know you're disappointed, you're bummed, you thought we were going to go through in detail, right? However, there are 2 important points in a general sense that the Israelite people were commanded to observe. One of them we still do today. The other we don't. And in both cases, it's important. Now, I'm going to read you the one that we still do, sort of, and I want you to pay attention and tell me what sounds similar and what sounds different. And the Lord spoke to Moses, and he said, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, if a woman has conceived and has borne a male child, then she shall be unclean for 7 days. According to the days of the separation for her weakness, she shall be unclean. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised, and she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying for 33 days. She shall touch no sacred thing, and she will not come into the sanctuary until the days of her purifying are fulfilled." So, did you count the days? 33 plus 7. "But if she bears a girl child, then she shall be unclean for 2 weeks, as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying for 60, that's 60, and 6 days. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled, for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon, or a turtle dove and a young pigeon, for a sin offering to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation to the priest. And the priest will offer it before the Lord and make an atonement for her, and she shall be cleansed from blood. This is the law for her that has given birth to a male or a female. And if she is not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, the one for the burnt offering and the other for a sin offering, and the priest shall sacrifice them." So, what's similar? What's different? What's similar? So in the Old Testament, the women are unclean for 40 days. What do? We don't have the women go to church for 40 days. Is it because they're unclean? Don't get to that. Now, what about the part about a boy or a girl? Do we do that? If your mother had a little girl, did she have to stay out of church for 80 days? Okay, that's important because we still do the 40-day blessing, but we don't do it in the same way. Do you have to bring a bird for the priest to break the head off and sacrifice it? No. That kind of gets at what we'll talk about next week, the stuff that we don't do. So no birds, no lambs, no knives, no blood. Why do you think that's different? I'll tell you. I'm sure you thought I was going to make you guess, right? So, this is kind of weird, but it's very important. And it actually relates to what today is. So see if you can guess where I'm going. When Adam and Eve sinned, they each received a different curse. The man was told that he would have to work and get food out of the ground, and all it would do would give him thorns and thistles, and he would sweat, and he'd be sad, and then he'd die and get buried and go back into the ground, right? The woman was told that she would have labor and pain in her childbearing, but in her childbearing she would be saved. And then the snake had to crawl on the ground and eat dust, and we don't care about the snake anymore. Now, a couple more things. Remember, God said to the Israelite people when he took them out of Egypt that they were his firstborn child. That's important too, because what nation was Jesus from? Was he a Greek? Was he an Englishman? What was he? He was a Jew. He was born of the race of the children of Israel, because it was through the children of Israel that God would bring his only begotten Son into the world. Now, all of these things kind of connect, because who was the last woman to have to bring turtle doves, because she was poor, to be sacrificed in the temple when she brought her firstborn son to be dedicated to the Lord after 40 days of purification? Who was the last woman under the law? Panagia, the Virgin Mary. And in her giving birth, that curse has been wiped away. And since that time, we don't make a distinction between the boy children and the girl children. We bring them all on the 40th day, because now this is fulfilled. This is how we show that the Israelite people were the firstborn child of the Lord, that they were the vessel through which he would come into the world himself. This is how we see that even though the man and the woman, they messed up in different ways in the Old Testament, now we're free of that curse. Now we don't say that men are better than women in the church. This is important. Now the women come with their children to be blessed in the church, not because they're unclean, but because we celebrate and we rejoice in their motherhood. We give them 40 days to rest. 40 days when they don't have to come out. When they can say to anyone that wants them to do stuff, I have a new child, I love my child, I'm getting to know my child, I get a break. The church says I'm not supposed to go out for 40 days, and I'm gonna stay here. But then we bring them into the church and we read prayers of joy, prayers of congratulation, prayers of honor for the mothers. And what's today? Mother's Day. So, the basic fundamental point is this. Eve messed up back in the day. And for a long time, women were cursed in one way and men were cursed in another way. Now the curse is gone. Because Panagia was the perfect mother. And she gave birth to Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God, who has wiped away all curses and honors and perfects everything that was broken. So motherhood is blessed and sanctified, and every mother who bears a child into this world now is imitating Panagia. And therefore we honor them. So, be nice to your mothers today. Say thank you, because in giving birth to you, she has continued a beautiful tradition that is not at all associated with a curse any longer, and is only a blessing for you, because without a mother, you wouldn't be here, right? So that's a good thing for you and for the entire world through how you love the people around you. So today, we're going to be a little different. I'm going to ask help. James, can you bring the table over here? Before we send the kids for communion, we're going to give the flowers to the kids. I want you to bring a flower to your mother, and then go and get in line for communion. And after communion, go for Sunday school. All right? So, here we go. You get to be first. Come on. Go find your mother, bring her a flower, and then get in line.